The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, and welcome to our webinar, Marketing 102 Campaigns. You can advance the slide, Eric. Thank you very much. Today we'll walk you through how to use campaigns in Microsoft Dynamics CRM and how they can make your marketing efforts more effective. I am Brian Dunn, Director of Marketing at Quanta CRM. With me today is Eric Anderson, Director of Sales. I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to attend, and I'll take just a minute to cover some of the call logistics before we start our presentation. Today, everyone will be in listen-only mode, so if you have questions, just type them into the question box in the GoToWebinar control panel. It's over on your right, and we will answer those at the end of the webinar. This webinar will be recorded, so if you missed some details and need to view it again, or if you know someone you think might benefit from the information and they are not present, then you can just visit us on our events page at quantacrm.com/events. And you can find the recorded presentation there. It should go up on Monday. And while you're on the events page, of course, you're going to see our other upcoming webinars as well as recordings of our past events. So if you find this one valuable, or if you have interest in other topics concerning Dynamics CRM, then you can sign up for the other webinars there. And today's webinar should run around half an hour. So with that, I will turn the presentation over to Eric.
Thanks, Brian. So in our previous marketing webinar, we focused on marketing lists. And just to briefly recap, if I go under marketing and marketing lists, there's two types of marketing lists. There's a dynamic list that's going to basically automatically add and remove records based on the criteria. And then there's a static list where we basically choose which records we add to the marketing list, and it stays static. It doesn't dynamically update. So for instance, on this dynamic list, if I open up this dynamic list, I can see the members, and if I hit the plus sign here, it's basically just going to show me the query. It's going to show me the select criteria. And in this particular case, I'm looking for customers that have these specific products on opportunities. So if I hit the look up here, we could see the list of products that I've selected from. So this is kind of a very specific targeted marketing list towards customers that are buying or at least interested in, it's on an opportunity, a specific type of product. And if I wanted to change this criteria, I could automatically update the records based on that criteria. And one more thing to point out is that we have accounts, contacts, or leads. So a marketing list can consist of accounts or contacts or leads. And then back to marketing list. So the other type is a static list. And again, I just manually select the records that I want on this list. And I can do that using a lookup, advanced find. So there's a lot of ways to pull the records in, but once they're there, they stay there unless I decide to remove them, and I can remove them with this delete button. Okay, so quick recap of marketing lists. So there's two types of ways to kind of do campaigns within Dynamics. There's a quick campaign, and then there's the full marketing campaign. And the difference is the quick campaign is typically more of a one-off thing. I want to create I want to use a marketing list and just target this list with an email blast or a phone call, and then I'm done. So I create those activities and I'm finished. And it's not going to track anything about financials of the campaign, for instance, costs. You can have budgeted costs, actual costs, and revenue, pertaining to the campaign. The full marketing campaign, which we'll get into, allows you to have a budget, it allows you to record costs, and it tracks the revenue that's tied to that campaign. So you have a lot more visibility with a full marketing campaign of kind of what happened with that campaign, and especially the financials regarding that campaign. So we're going to start out with a quick campaign. And there's a couple of ways to do a quick campaign. One is from right where I was under marketing lists. So if I have a marketing list that's created and I know here's the list of contacts or accounts or whatever the record type is, I can just see quick campaigns down here at the bottom right, and I'll hit the plus button to add a quick campaign. Now this just takes me through a quick wizard. So I'm going to hit next. It's going to say what's the name of this quick campaign, and I'm just going to say QC for quick campaign 2. And I'll hit next. Then it wants to know the activity type. So I have a few different activity types here. And we'll talk about, we're mainly going to focus on phone calls and emails, which are the most common activity campaigns. In this one, I'm going to select phone call. It wants to know who's going to own these activities. So this campaign is going to create activities. Every activity has an owner. And with this wizard, I can assign the owner to me. I can assign the owner to the actual owners of the record. So in this case, it's an account record. So I can say whoever within our organization is the owner on that account record, let's make them the owner of these activities. Or I could assign to a different user or a team, and I could also throw them into a queue. And the queue just kind of gives us another way to organize and filter these activities. So I can go into a queue and just say, okay, here's this campaign activity queue. Let's get the work done. In this case, I'm just going to leave it as me and hit the next button. Now, depending on the record type, whether it's a phone call or an email, I may have some different options here. So this is a phone call, and I'm just going to put in a subject. I'm going to keep it as QC2, and we'll just call this QC2 promo. The call from and the call to are both inactive because it's going to pick that up from the account, and the phone number is also inactive. If I want a more detailed description about this phone call, I can type some more details in this area. And the regarding is also inactive. And so the only other field is the duration. And I could say, well, this is typically going to be maybe a 15-minute call. And then I'm going to hit next and keep moving through this wizard. So it's basically saying, okay, you're finished. Here's the name, QC2. The activity is going to be a phone call, and selected records is 1. And I say create. So once we've created a quick campaign, we can open up that quick campaign and kind of see what's going on with it. And with this particular campaign, I can see that the activities, let me go back to, that was QC1, but let me go back here to QC2 here. And I can see that there's these phone calls that are attached to, the records from that marketing list. I can see that from the quick campaign. I could also see that from an activity list. So if I, for instance, go into marketing activities, and here's all activities, but maybe I want to drill down a little bit and just get into phone calls. Here's all phone call activities. And then I could kind of sort or filter and find the marketing activities. And in this case, I've actually created another view of the phone call activities based using the advanced find. I basically created another view that says, just give me phone calls that are related to open activities on a campaign. And so ideally what we'd see here is just the records that are open to the phone calls that are on an existing campaign. And so there's a lot of different ways to sort these views and kind of get into the record type. So for instance, here's the QC2 right here for the activities that I just created. Another way to create a quick campaign, so that was through a marketing list. We can add a quick campaign to a marketing list. Another way to do this would be through an advanced find or any type of basically view. So if I wanted to go to, let's go to contacts for instance, and I have my active contacts here. And again, I could use a different list here. I could use the advanced find functionality and create a nice, targeted list, filter that, whatever I want to do. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna select some records to add to this quick campaign. And so one way to do that would just be to go to, for instance, a contact list and just kind of scroll through and say, yeah, these are the people I want to grab. Again, if I put a filter on and really target it, then I can just select all the records and say add to a marketing list or add to a quick campaign. So I've selected a few records here. You do see add to a marketing list up here. That's not actually what I want to do. We're talking about a quick campaign here. So I'm going to drop down and say quick campaign for selected records. So again, if I'd really worked on the selection criteria and filtered, I could say select all the records on the current pages or all the records on all pages. In this scenario, I just kind of picked and choose the contacts that I want. So I'll just say a quick campaign for the selected records. Now this is going to take me through the exact same campaign wizard that we just went through from the marketing list area. So I'm going to hit next here, and I'm going to say this is a QC2 email. And the activity type, this time I'm going to select email to kind of show you the difference here. And again, different ways to assign the ownership or throw it into a queue. Again, I'm just going to leave that as me for the owner. One thing that's interesting about the email activity is that you can select from a template. And in this case, we're just going to kind of populate a subject here. We'll say thank you for attending our event, and I'll just throw some text in here, copy and paste it. Dear valued customer, we appreciate you spending last Tuesday afternoon with us. So this is more of an on-the-fly, ad hoc email. I'm going to show you the email templates in a minute after this and kind of show that gives you a little bit of deeper functionality with emails. One thing to point out is that when you're sending emails, you may want to give the recipient the option to unsubscribe. And what you would do is just type some type of text, like click here to unsubscribe, and then click this unsubscribe. It puts a little link. That notifies us that, hey, we should not continue to contact this particular email address. So let me hit next here. And again, it's saying, okay, we've got this campaign, it's an email activity, the selected records are 6, and we create. Okay, so again, there's a couple of ways to kind of see this. If I go back to the marketing list, that's one area where I can kind of see what's going on. This was a quick campaign, so if I go to quick campaigns under marketing, then I'm going to be able to see this QC2 email. And right now it's basically, if I had gone there too quickly, it would have said pending, because it actually has to go through the process of sending those emails. So it says, yeah, there were 6 members and we had 6 successes and 0 failures. And so if I wanted to open up those particular activities, I can open up that quick campaign and drill down into the activities. So let me pause here and then talk about the different type of email option, which was to select from an email template. So I'm going to go under Settings and Templates. And the advantage of an email template, one of the advantages is that we can kind of have more of a mail merge. We can insert fields from the dynamic CRM database into the email. So I'm going to say template type, and let's say we've got some different template types here, and maybe it's a contact template type. This is an example of an email template, and we're going to use this as we get into the full marketing campaign. So this is called May Promo at Contoso. Contoso is the name of our demo company here. So May Promo at Contoso. Let's open this up, and this is an email template. So it's going to have some text, and it's going to have some merged fields in here. So I'm basically saying, this is information about the template. This doesn't show up to the, on the email going to the customer, but it's saying this is concerning a May promo at Contoso. Here's an email about a 20% discount on orders over $1,000. And the subject in the email line is maypromo@contoso. So then I'm basically going to create this email that says, hey, dear so-and-so, I have merged this field in. And the way I merge fields in is from insert update. And so using this insert update, I can add fields from the tables that are accessible to me. For instance, we're in a contact-focused table or email template, so I can look at the contact, and here's all the fields related to the contact. So if I wanted to look at the state or the city and say, hey, we're going to be in your city, address 1 city, next month, and we just wanted to let you know we're having an event, I can insert that field automatically. So these highlighted yellow fields have been merged in from the CRM database. So dear contact, we're excited to inform you that we're having a May promotion, and we have some details. If you have any questions, please reach out to us at sales@contoso. If I wanted to, I could merge a specific user into this and their email address. And then I'm saying thank you, based on the user that's creating this record, I'll have my first name here. So that gives you an example of an email template. And so let's just take a look at activities for one more second. So there's a lot of ways to filter and sort activities. If I go under activities, I kind of looked at, we have all activities, we have phone call activities, we have email activities, and there would be a way to, again, filter these activities based on based on the subject line or based on whether or not it was tied to a campaign or a quick campaign. The previous one I was looking at with phone calls, I had that sorted by campaign, so it's not going to pull in the quick campaign. That's why there were no results there. After we run a full campaign, we can go back to that phone call list and see if that works again. But so here's some emails. The subject here is quick campaign E1, and I'm able to open that up. With a phone call, typically I want the phone call to remain open because someone actually has to make that outbound phone call. With an email, the system is sending the email, so I can see that the status is set to send. But there is some options. So once we have these activities that are tied to the campaign, there's a lot of things we can do with these. One is if someone emails or calls us back and says, yeah, I'm kind of interested in that promotion, I can take a record like this and promote it to a response. And the response is all about tracking the success of the campaign. So if I want to know how many responses I actually received from this campaign, what I'd want to do is make sure I am very diligent about checking these activities and promoting these to responses. There's a report that we're going to show a little bit later that kind of shows here's the campaign, here's the responses, here's the percentage, and here's the cost. If there was a cost associated with the campaign, we might want to know, okay, if we spent $500, and we got 500 responses, that's $1 per response, and we can kind of evaluate things that way. If we're not as concerned about like the financials around the campaign, then we might just, if someone's interested, we might just want to say, let's just convert this to an opportunity. And there's the ability to kind of do all of these, and we'll show that a little bit later as we convert some of these records. So you could convert it to an opportunity and make sure that you create a response record if you want to track that. So some different options there. So let's go back to marketing again, and let's look at the full campaign. So we talked a little bit about these quick campaigns. Let's create a full marketing campaign. So I'm inside of my campaigns, and I'm just going to add a new campaign. And it wants a campaign name. I'm just going to call this One May Promo. Campaign code is optional. The currency campaign type, I'm going to say this is direct marketing. Expected response percentage, that's another optional field. So I could just say, yeah, maybe we'll get a 20% response. I can have a proposed start date, which could be today if I'm going to kick it off, and a proposed end date. Maybe it's a couple of weeks from now. If I scroll down, I'm going to get into this financial area, and this is where we're talking about budgets, right? So if I want to track maybe a budget of this campaign and then a total cost of the campaign, I can enter those, at least enter the budget here. As we get into the costs, as we create specific activities or waves of the campaign, we can associate costs with those, and then we could always add like a miscellaneous cost to the whole campaign here as well. So if I wanted to say there's going to be a miscellaneous cost of 500, our allocated budget is 2,500, and then the rest of the costs would come through the individual activities. Okay, and then there's some areas up here. So I could say, what's the estimated revenue from this campaign? Let's say we're expecting 200,000. Status details, let's say we're launched. And then I'm going to save this. Before I can actually start adding campaign activities, I just need to save the record. So I can save it down here, or I can save it up at the top left. Once I've saved that, then I can come down here. There's a couple of things I can do. First, I can add a marketing list, and then I can start adding campaign activities. So I'm going to go to marketing lists. And we're going to add a couple of marketing lists here. Let's say computer buyers is one of our marketing lists that we're targeting. And then home appliance buyers. So I can pull in multiple lists here. And we'll say select and add. Now this is just saying, do you want to add it to the campaign only or undistributed campaign activities? At this point, I don't have any activities, so it doesn't mean anything. But if I had some undistributed activities and I wanted to make sure I included these lists, I'd want to leave it at this setting. Okay, so I've got some marketing lists. And so the next thing we're going to do is actually get into the activities of the campaign. So let's scroll down here and we'll go to campaign activities. We're going to kind of try to work through this pretty quickly. We've got 5 to 10 minutes left. So this wizard's going to be somewhat similar to the quick campaign, but there's a few more options here. So in the subject here, I'm going to create a phone call activity. So let's just say this is phone initial contact. Here's my campaign. What type of activity is this? And again, I can say it's direct initial contact. These are option sets, so if you wanted to add more or remove some of these values, you can personalize this to do that. So I'll say direct initial contact. What's the channel? It's by phone. If I'm using an outsourced vendor, I could put that in here. Here's more of a detailed description. I can have start and end dates to this particular activity. Those are optional. Again, if we want to track kind of budgeting and revenue, revenue to cost, then we can say, oh, the allocated budget for this was, $1,000, and the actual cost is going to be $1,500. Anti-spam settings, so this is used more with email, but if I wanted to exclude members who were contacted within a specific set period of time, I can enter in some days there. Okay, so once I save that, what I'm going to do is distribute that. So once I have the activity, I'd save it, and then I can distribute the campaign activity. And distributing it, again, is kind of just a couple of fields available to me, the subject and the description, because the rest is going to be populated. So for subject, I'm just going to throw in here, May promo, 20% discount. And then I could have more detailed subscription, and then what do I expect the duration of the call to be, maybe 15 minutes, and then I'm going to hit distribute. So at this point, the system is basically creating, once I get through this next section, it's going to go ahead and create those phone call activities. And again, I have this, who's going to be the owner of these activities. I'm going to leave that alone for now and just say distribute, and it'll assign those to me. Okay, so now I've distributed this. If I want to go under activities here, see how I just kind of refresh that by clicking on activities? I can see those phone calls here. The other thing I could do is kind of drop again under marketing activities, and let's go under phone calls, and let's try this phone calls related to a campaign. And so now that shows up because these were part of an official full marketing campaign. So I created an advanced find view that puts in the subject from campaign activities, and that's an easy way to kind of get to what I want. I could still find this from the regular phone call list. Just go to all phone calls and sort by the subject, and there's my May promo 20%. Okay, so let's go back to the campaign again. So let's go back to marketing campaigns, and we'll go into one May promo. And this time we're going to create an email activity, and we're going to create it and pull a template, pull an email template that we looked at earlier. So say this is email blast using template. And again, some similar fields here. What's the type of activity? And again, we'll just say maybe this is follow-up contact. The channel is going to be email. I can have description, start, ending dates if I want to use those, and then financials again if I want to say there's a budgeted cost and an actual cost. And I'm not sure why these are kind of overlapping each other, but let's say this is $1,500 and this is ending up costing $1,300. And then there's my anti-spam. So if I had emailed this particular email address within the last 15 days, maybe I want to exclude that. I'm going to save that, and we're going to distribute. And I'm going to say use template. So remember, I want to actually use a template here. Looks like this is kind of catching up to me. Okay, so use template. And I have that template called May promo at Contoso, and you can see the description over here, 20% off about orders over 1,000. So that's all I need to do. Use the template. It doesn't want any of this because it's all in the template, and I'm going to hit distribute. Again, I'll assign the records to me as the owner. With the email activities, it's going to create the emails for me, so I'm going to just assume those are closed and distribute. Okay, so one other thing we want to look at briefly is responses. So, one thing we may want to do is after we've created these activities, we're emailing, we have phone calls, we can take these activities and we can promote them as responses. So I'm going to go to phone call, go back to this campaign view, and here's my May promo. And up here I can convert to an opportunity, a case, or promote to a response. So there's some different options here. In this case, I'm going to say let's take this and convert it to an opportunity. And one nice thing about this is I can also switch this setting to yes. So not only is it creating an opportunity, it's going to record a closed campaign response. So again, if I'm kind of monitoring the responses, that would be helpful. And then I'm just going to put my campaign in here, so I flag that opportunity to the one May promo and continue. So I'm taking a specific phone call, I'm converting it to an opportunity, I'm also recording a response, and let's just say our estimated revenue from this is $150,000. This is a big deal. And then I'm going to close it as one. So in order to actually see revenue tied to the campaign, we need to have an opportunity that's one, and it needs to be tied to that specific campaign. So I'm going to say OK there. And so this is closing the opportunity as one. It's tied to the campaign. And so now if I go back to the marketing campaign here and pull up my one May promo, I see a response here, right? So that came from that opportunity. And the other thing I can do is I can go now these dashboards. We have a specific dashboard that's kind of tied to marketing overview. And so I can look at costs and actuals. I can look at the different campaign mix. I can look at revenue generated by campaign. So there's the one there's the opportunity I just closed as one. It's $150,000. I can, if I want to pop this particular chart out, I can drill into here and say, let's see the opportunities that are behind that particular campaign, and then I can get into these records. So again, the idea of tying responses and opportunities to the campaign allows us some visibility. We're running out of time, so I'm going to show just one more report that kind of gives us a nice overview. If I go to reports and I come down here, there's a default campaign performance report. And so what I could do is enter a specific campaign here. And we'll grab this 1 May promo and then run the report. And this is going to show us some different information. It's going to, give us some details about the campaign, start dates, who are the marketing lists. If I scroll down a little bit, here's the activities that went out. I had that email blast, and then I had a phone call. Let's say I targeted only 18 records, but I had 1 response. And so based on my budget, maybe my cost per response was pretty expensive here. If I scroll down a little bit further, I can see here was my actual cost was $3,300. Here was my total budget allocated. So this is my estimated budget was $2,500. And here's my revenue generated from that. So again, a full marketing campaign can give you some visibility into costs, tied to the campaign, as well as revenue that's coming from the opportunities that were won from that campaign. And one final note about this is campaigns are like any other entity. They're very personalizable. So there is an entity called campaign. There's also the ability to add business process flows to a campaign. So if you want to kind of have stages and have some type of a system that drives us through a campaign, we can set up a business process flow through a campaign. So here's an example of an email sales campaign that actually has a business process flow. And we could have different required fields at different stages. But again, just to help us follow our particular business processes through a campaign. Brian, I think I'm a few minutes over, but do we have any questions?
Yep, we did have one that's come in so far, and it says, if I run multiple campaigns, how would I view opportunities by campaign?
Okay, so that's a great question. So if I go under sales and opportunities and say I'm looking at an opportunity list, remember we have the advanced find, so there's a lot we can do with this. So if I'm under opportunities and I want to add the campaign, the source campaign as a field in one of these views, what I would do is just sorry, I'm on the personal options, advanced find. What I can do is just create a new view. I'm going to say save as, and I'm going to say ops by campaign. And so this could be tied to the current owner. I could, again, under the query, I could kind of remove some of this. If I want to see all opportunities, I just delete this and say I do just want to see open opportunities by campaign. And then I just need to go add the column. And so when I hit edit columns, I can go add a column here. And the column is called, it's actually tied to the opportunity entity, and it's called source campaign. So select that column, hit OK. I'm going to save that. And then I can always hit the review or the results and just kind of see how that looks inside of the advanced find. There's my source campaign. So I'm going to hop out of here, go back in so it kind of resets. And then if I go under opportunities, drop down, here's, this is actually one I created earlier where I put the source campaign over here, but you get the idea. So I'd be able to sort this by source campaign. Let me just go over here because we had some different options here. So yeah, these would be my opportunities by campaign. So there's definitely a way to do that.
Okay.
Any other questions, Brian?
Yeah, another one came through. It says, is there danger in emailing large lists from CRM?
Yeah, so that's a great question. You know, the CRM marketing module can do a lot of things. Is it designed to send out thousands of emails every week? Not really. You know, there's limitations with how many emails you'd want to send out of this. Just like if you were creating an email from Outlook and putting 100 people on it, the more emails that go out, the higher likelihood that one or more recipients will actually mark that email as spam, which can possibly lead to your domain being blacklisted. So if you think you're going to do, you know, 20 to 50 emails a week out of this, and you're fairly certain your customers know you and trust you and aren't going to mark your emails as spam, that's kind of one scenario. If you think you're going to be emailing thousands of blasts to leads that don't necessarily know you, then there's other affordable programs like MailChimp that are really, you know, specifically focused on email marketing. And the advantage of MailChimp is they have their own domains that won't be blacklisted or impact your company domain. And they also can track delivery status and click-through status, so you can see what's happening with those emails, where out-of-the-box Dynamic CRM doesn't really have that. So yeah, that's a great question. Definitely something to consider. You know, you wouldn't want to, like I said, send thousands of emails out of Dynamic CRM from your personal. I mean, it's really not about CRM. It's about sending those from your email domain and possibly getting blacklisted. Any other questions, Brian?
Nope, that looks like it. So, okay, yep, no questions have come in since then. All right, so I'd like to thank everyone for attending today. We know your time is valuable, so we hope you found the information we presented valuable as well. If you have any questions that come up after we end the presentation, please feel to reach out to Eric or your account manager. That number is 844-244-6310. It's on your screen now. They'd love to hear from you. And again, just as a reminder, today's presentation was recorded and it will be posted to quantacrm.com/events on Monday. So if you missed some details, or if you know someone you might think might benefit from the presentation, you'll find it there on Monday. So again, thanks for attending, and everyone have a happy Friday and a great weekend.
Okay, thanks everybody. Thanks, Brian. Bye-bye.